The Remarkable People Podcast. Check it out. The Remarkable People Podcast. Listen, do, repeat. For life.
Hello, friends. I'm David Pasqualone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Remarkable People Podcast, the Svetlana Newsome story. Svetlana, thank you for being here today.
It is so good to be here, David, with you today. Thank you for having me.
Anytime. And to our community around the world, you are going to love Svetlana. We met through her husband, who you probably heard in a former episode, Jeremy Newsome. He is the investor that went from broke to woke, overcame alcoholism, figured out how to invest by a catalyst of watching Forrest Gump. And now we have his lovely bride, which they had their first child together, and she'll be telling you all about that. But Svetlana is a life coach, an energy healer. She teaches classes. I don't want to take away her thunder. I'm going to let her share this, but I've personally been spending time with her, and she's been coaching me, and I've got tons of benefit, which I'll tell you about in a different episode. But Svetlana is the real deal. She's kind, compassionate, loving, and really knows her stuff. So what are you going to be able to learn in this episode? You're going to be learn how to basically channel your energy, right, Svetlana?
Yes.
You're going to be able to learn how to take your dreams and make them a reality. And you're going to learn a ton more. But to get to that point, just like all our episodes, we're going to go through the past. What path did God take Svetlana on to make her who she is today? Then we'll transition into where she is today and where she's going. So after she helps us for an hour, we'll be able to help her get there. So that's it. Svetlana, at this time, can you please start with your story? Where are you from? How did your life begin? And just bring us through what you think we need to know.
Well, originally, I am from Kazakhstan. It's a very, very big country, right in the middle of the map. I know when I met my husband, he wasn't really sure where the country was, or even if it was real, he thought that it was a made-up country that he saw in a movie. So I recognize that a lot of people don't really know about it. But yeah, so I'm from Kazakhstan. I was born there. And my life was very different than life might be in United States. And so we grew up quite poor, but with a lot of love. And it is freezing weather in the winters. You don't want to go there in the winter. Summers are wonderful. So I started working when I was 6 years old to help out my mom and to help out my grandma. And I would sell seeds, and in the summer it would be fruits and vegetables that we will grow in our garden, flowers, and in the spring it would be seeds to grow those fruits and vegetables. So a lot of that throughout my childhood, just to help out family. I love, and I still don't eat pickled food. Pickled food for me, it's a food of poverty, because we will pickle everything and then eat it in a winter time, and then in the summer it will be all the fresh fruits and vegetables. But anyway, I remember a beautiful divine moment when I was 13 years old. I was in a bus, and there was not much opportunity for me in my life at that time. And I really was a dreamer. I wanted more for my life. I would watch movies, I would watch documentaries. I remember watching this show every Sunday morning at 10:15 a.m. that would show different countries and places. And I would just look at it with admiration. And one time I was just bawling, crying, because I was aware that that could never be me. I can never possibly go to those beautiful places that were shown. And I asked my mom how much it would be a plane ticket. And it was her 2-year annual salary. So it was absolutely impossible in that little brain of mine. But I so deeply wanted. I wanted a chance. I wanted an opportunity. And while I was on that bus drive, I got quiet and still. And I had always a very deep spiritual connection with divine. And I would speak with angels since I was little. I closed my eyes and I asked, God, what can I do? What should I do in order to have an opportunity in life? And the voice came so strongly. And it said, learn English. Learn English, I thought, okay. Okay, fine, right? I was thinking to myself, of course, I had to make kind of sense out of it. Like, well, I can be a teacher of English. I can be interpreter. I can have more possibilities for a job, and that will provide more income for me. Great. So I started my journey learning English. And looking back, I could never, ever in my wildest dreams recognize and see through fully the divine's plan for me with learn English. So I continued with my English and I finished high school and I went into the university. And the second year of university, there was a program called Work and Travel, where you could come to America and work for a summer and see the culture and practice your English, which is, by the way, what we learn back home and what it is in States is very, very different. When I first came, I couldn't understand much. It felt all like a lot of slang. Took me a while. But anyway, that opportunity came into my life and I was so inspired and I so wanted to come to States. The only problem was that it was $1,800. That was gigantic amount of money that I've never, ever seen in my life before. So I worked 3 jobs and I was full-time in school. My mom worked full-time and we saved up everything we could. And in about a year, we were able to save up $600.
And how old were you, roughly? How old were you at this time?
At that time, I was 17.
17, okay.
Yes. So there we are, we're short. But my desire was so big. And again, I needed another miracle. I decided that, well, I know a few people that do okay maybe in life, so I will go and ask them. I got a few no's, and then my friend's father, he had his own business. He borrowed me $1,200. And I'm eternally grateful for him because it absolutely changed the direction of my life. It gave me the life that I have right now, just his belief in me and that I will pay back and, borrowing into this child who just has such a passion in her heart. And so I came to States and I had an amazing time and I worked so hard and I saw life in America. My biggest takeaways that summer were how men treat women and how equally it was and how much opportunity women had here. I also was just amused by older people because at 50, back home, people were preparing to die. At 55 was a retirement and they were planning and saving money for their funeral. And here at 60 years old, everyone is excited about their golden age and go travel. And I remember seeing this older woman. She was probably in her late 60s. It was like long pink nails and short hair. And she was so just radiant and alive. I was like, wow, there is so much life and so much more life here. So I was determined that that is where I want to be, that is where I want to build my life. So I made $5,000 that summer. It was enough to pay back and enough to, pay for the program again and figure things out. And yes, just a little after, I went back home, and then I moved to America.
Now, when you came with the program, did you stay stationary at one part of America, or did you travel throughout the country?
I was in New Hampshire.
Oh, okay. I'm from outside of Boston, Milford, Mass. New Hampshire is gorgeous. And you went during the summer?
I was there during the summer, exactly. I don't want to be there during the winter time. Summer was wonderful, and there were so many international students. We had so much fun. On our days off, we would travel around the East Coast. And then, of course, when I was returning to States, I wanted to visit West Coast because I saw all these different palm trees and ocean and all this magnificent. I'm like, I want to see that America, not just pine trees. I want to see palm trees.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of every country. It's so different wherever you go, but there's a dramatic difference within America. Each state has just such different landscapes and scenery and culture. So that's awesome. You got to see that, go back, pay the money back, and then have more to come back again. So let me ask you a question. What did you do to earn that money while you were here? Was that part of the internship, or did you get a job?
It was work and travel provided a job. So my job was in New Hampshire. So I flew to New York, took a Greyhound, and ended up in New Hampshire. And then someone picked me up, and then it was another 2-hour drive to this hotel. And I worked in the hotel. I think they're rebuilding it now. It was called Balsam's Resort and Hotel. And it was a wonderful, wonderful place, very beautiful. And they had a dorm for people like me to stay there through the summer and work there. So at first I was doing room service, and it wasn't much money in it. And I, asked my way through to become a server. And then I waitressed for a good 2 months.
Nice. And for our listeners, you guys know the show. We take not just Svetlana's story, but then we'll break it down to practical steps so you can too. So if you're listening to Svetlana, and Svetlana, you correct me if I'm wrong, or if you want to add to this, what I'm hearing is first you had a vision, you wanted to come to America, then you're praying about it, and then you hear God say, learn English. You don't understand why, but you obeyed, you followed that next step. So to all our listeners out there, you have your vision, but then you just got to take action. Even if you don't always understand it, you take action. And then the next thing is, she got the next directive. Hey, go to this exchange school program. Boom. Is that correct, Svetlana? Is that what I'm hearing? This accurate to teach our?
Very much so. But it was just a little bit different. The message first came, and I had no idea. I was 13 when I received the message to learn English. The opportunity came so much later. So sometimes we know in our hearts what is that we're being told to do, and our mind doesn't recognize it or understand it. Why? It doesn't make sense. What should I do? What is it for? But just obeying that voice within, obeying that knowing that there is something bigger for me. Maybe I don't see it right now. It will unfold in time. And really trusting that intuition and trusting that voice is one thing that I relied on my whole life and made my life what it is right now.
Yeah. And then for the listeners, we have people of all different worldviews. We have people who have different religious beliefs, but for whoever you are, all truth is foundational. It all comes from God. We may use different terms. Some of you might have heard the introduction, be like, oh, like Dave used words that are taboo in our circle. Hang on, because we're probably using this different words for the same meaning. So you, as a Christian, you might say, I have an unction from the Holy One. I know all things, or I heard a still small voice of God. So Svetlana heard that as a child. She looked for the opportunity and she seized it. So for all of us, God's there. And how she describes it, she may use a little bit different vernacular, but God is God. So Svetlana, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I definitely want to make sure we got steps that people can follow. So keep going, please.
Absolutely. And they've also, when I was coming to States and I knew that I'm moving, that was it. Sitting down and having that quiet moment and asking, should I? Right? Because it was scary. I was leaving everything behind. My family, I was going by myself into the new world that I knew very little about. And it was a little scary. I always also laugh and say it's beautiful to be young and delusional and thinking nothing can ever happen to
you. That's funny.
Yeah, so during that time, you're quite invincible, and it is a great time to take big leaps of faith. But the calling was so strong on my life, and I recognized that I would not be able to shine light in the capacities that I do now back home. And I wouldn't be able to truly to unfold into the person, into my purpose, into my dharma, if I was living still there. So it was just another step in this big, beautiful painting that is called life.
Yeah. Now, so you take this trip, you come back. What happened from the point you came back to America? Was your family for it? Were they against it? Did they think you were crazy? Were they jealous? What was going on back home?
Everyone was freaking out because I came and said, hey, I'm going, I'm moving, and that's it, and I'm gone. My mother is an incredible support in my life, and she always has been. And she supported that decision because she wanted what would be the best for me. And I think it was extremely difficult on her because a lot of people were criticizing her and asking her how she was letting me go. But in her heart, she just had to trust that everything would be okay. And again, when you are younger, well, of course, my mom loved me and she wanted the best for me. And so I came. She supported that decision, and it was only me and my mother. So everyone else, pretty much outside family, and they didn't have much impact. Of course, they weren't for it, but they couldn't prevent me, I'd say. But I remember when my first son was born, and I'm holding my newborn and I'm looking at him with tears, just in shock, recognizing like, oh my God, I don't think I could ever let him go. I remember calling my mom on Skype at that time, and I'm like, Mom, how did you let me go? Like, how could you? And she said, I cried every night for 4 years, but I knew that I wanted something better for you.
That's beautiful. And before we get too far ahead, because having your son and your marriage, it's beautiful. And there's a twist that the listeners are about to hear. But let's get to this. You leave America, you leave your country, and forgive me, Kazakhstan. Am I saying it correctly?
Correct.
Okay. I want to make sure I say it correct. We actually have a lot of listeners in Kazakhstan, so I don't want to offend anybody. When you came to America, it was easy, right? American dream, instant wealth and fame, right? Talk to everybody, get from where you come to America, where you landed, and take us through.
So again, I wanted to come to the West Coast, and I ended up in Las Vegas. Didn't even research much about it. It just seemed like a great, fabulous idea.
A fabulous Las Vegas, right?
I mean, everyone talks about Las Vegas. Why not to go there? That palm trees there and it's nice and warm. What I didn't recognize that it wasn't just warm, it was extremely hot. And I remember getting out from the plane and in a turtleneck and a jeans with my luggage. And it's like end of May, coming outside. I'm like, I can't even breathe. It was just so hot and dry. It was a shock to my system.
And for our listeners too, what Svetlana's saying, she's not, if anything, she's underplaying it because she's talking about May. If you're from anywhere in the world and you haven't been to Vegas, it's so hot that I've been there during the summer and you open the door at 5:30 a.m. The sun's barely out and it burns your eyes. If you take an egg and drop it on the concrete, it physically fries. So she went from cold weather to hot weather. So I just want to make sure everybody has that picture. So that's just alone on the geography. You got a huge culture shock.
Yes. And then it's all sparkly and beautiful and just unreal and everything is painted. And anyway, I had to find a job pretty fast. So walking in 100+ degree weather was challenging in its own and looking for a job. But I did. I landed a job in Forum Shops to be a salesperson there. And then I met some other girls and got to be a roommate with them. So we were in a 1-bedroom, 5 of us for a year and a half.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yes, everyone was sleeping, who knows on what. But it was a wonderful time and we made the best out of it. It was very uncomfortable. I'm still grateful for my bed, very much so.
Yeah.
But very slowly, things started picking up, and first 2 years as an immigrant are very, very difficult. And all immigrants know that it is really the first 2 years that are very hard. And then I went to another job interview in Mandalay Bay. And I remember being interviewed by this tall, handsome, just mesmerizing man. And I got the job. When I started working, I would tell myself, do not you look at him. Don't you look at him. We don't do anything at work. Just stay straight and keep working. Well, long story short, 8 months later, I was married to him.
Nice.
It was the best hire of his life. The romance turned out, it just was the energy was very strong. We fell in love very, very deeply.
And what was his name?
Reggie.
Reggie. Now, if some of you are like, wait a second, Dave, you said Jeremy's her husband. She'll get to that. So keep telling us about Reggie and meeting him.
Yeah, so he was very smart and very charismatic. Everyone liked him. He was a great leader as well. And he was from South Carolina originally. I still remember going there for the first time and visiting his family and not understanding anything they were saying.
That is very true.
Yes, Southern accent was something else. And they had a very hard time understanding me as well. But we made it work. And yes, we get married, and soon after we bought a home and we get pregnant, and life was amazing. Life was incredible. One thing that I missed is when I was having my conversation with my mother before I left, I told her, Mom, in America in 5 years, I can have everything that will take me a lifetime back home in Kazakhstan. I will be married, I will have a beautiful family, I will have a beautiful car, I will have a beautiful home, a great job, everything. And pretty much that's how it was. I got married to an amazing man. We had beautiful baby boy, 2 BMWs in the garage, a nice home. We go on vacations and we travel, and life became quite amazing. I remember looking at all my paperwork and recognizing, wow, like everything I thought my life would be, it is. And it was at that 5-year point. Yes, first 2 years was super hard. And then finally, like I got into groove of it. And it was so wonderful and so amazing. And trust me, we had our own, challenges and difficulties, but it wasn't anything that normal people don't. And anyway, 5 years, I am in awe. And we celebrated our 2-year anniversary. We were dating for a year. We were married for 2 years. Went to Beverly Hills, stayed in a Peninsula hotel there, had a great time, got back, bought tickets to travel to Kazakhstan so he could meet my family. He hasn't been there yet, or he didn't go there before. So I wanted him to visit. And we decided that we'll come back and then we'll try for a baby girl. Life was planned, right? We kind of knew what was going on. And months after our wedding anniversary, he died. Very unexpectedly and very fast. That was the hardest and darkest time of my life. And everything I knew was gone. All the dreams that we had together were gone. I heard a quote much later in my life that said, the hardest thing about losing someone is having funeral for all of your dreams. And not having his physical presence, not being a single mom to a beautiful 1-year-old. I contemplated on everything. I kind of didn't want to leave, but I also knew I had to. I knew it would be unfair for Gabriel to lose mom and dad at the same time because I was completely checked out. But I was escaping. I was sleeping so much. My whole system was shut down. And I would sleep 14, 15 hours, hoping that when I wake up, I would recognize it was all just a bad dream, and it never happened. And I still remember that New Year, going into the new year of that year, kind of having that deep, deep grief and pain, but also hoping that I would get better, that the year has passed. It is behind me now, and there is a new hope in life. So during that time is where it was a pivotal point of my life where everything changed, and why I do the thing that I do now, and why I serve in a way that I serve now. And when I've chosen this path of being a spiritual healer and spiritual guide, it is truly because of that moment of the dark night of the soul and of that search. I was convinced to find out what happens after death. I wanted to know, where did he go and what was going on. It was the first time in my life where all of the studies or my religious upbringing or the things that I knew made no sense. They just wasn't aligned with my experience. I was experiencing a lot of phenomena in my house. The light bulbs bursting almost every day. The baby bottle moving from place to place on a table while three of us watching and just making sure that we are not crazy. There was a lot of presence, a lot of energy, a lot of his presence that was during the time. So I got curious. I just really wanted to know. And that quest is what opened up new doors and windows in my life.
And just to make sure we're not skipping anything, because a lot of listeners, like you said, your husband, you're in love, everything's going fantastic, and then suddenly he dies.
Mm-hmm.
How did you go from the shock, the depression, the loss, to getting, okay, I'm going to study this and start moving forward? And it sounds like that kind of in trying to find the answers is what helped you move out of it. But what was a time frame from his death to this point, and what were the steps to get you back into life?
David, honestly, it wasn't I am in a grief and then I'm making that transition, right? They were very parallel. I was in a grief, but I also was curious, right? I was hurting and I was in pain and I was experiencing that dark night of a soul, but I also was craving light, right? I remember being paranoid and so scared and so afraid of death that someone else might die. And then I was thinking that it probably would be my son, and just really being loaded with so much fear that I needed a miracle to pick myself up. And it did. Again, it was another miracle. The other miracle came through and said, just ask, how can I fall in love with life again? And I did. And I ask it every single day. How can I fall in love with life again? Because I didn't love life. I was looking at the people who were just all happy and merry, going with their flow, not recognizing that the person that I love so much isn't here anymore. And usually when someone dies, for the first couple months, everyone is there around you, and then you're by yourself. And that's where the whole true deep grief starts. 6 months in, 3 months in. So the search started right away, and I would go to church and I would go to Buddhist temple, and I would still grieve and I would still be very sad, but I wanted to be better. I wanted to be better. And I wanted to find the answers to those questions that I had. And I needed to be better to get better for my son. Because I couldn't just stay depressed for the rest of my life. And I had an amazing friend at that time. I remember I went there to speak to him. And I said, what should I do? It was 3 months after the death. And he looked into my eyes and said, Svetlana, you have 3 choices. When someone dies, when you lose someone, you have 3 choices with your life. The first one is you can stay in this grief for the rest of your life. And people would understand and they will be okay with that. And just stay in this sadness and that depression and allow it to swallow you. The second choice you have is to take this grief and pain at what happened to you and use it as an excuse and a manipulation to get your way in life. And that was a big one for me. It was kind of a slap in the face. It's like, yes, people would feel sorry for you. They will understand your pain. They will support you, and you can get a lot out of people. You will never experience true love, but you will experience a lot of compassion. And you can just start your life and every conversation with a story that you're a widower, that you're a widow. And he said the third choice that you have is to heal, rise up, and overcome and empower others. And he said, I know who you are, and I know the choice that you will make. And he just left me there. And so at that point, I'm like, kind of great. So I really don't have the first two choices, right? He just, maybe it was something in the subconscious, maybe something that I could have been doing, but now all the illusion was gone. I knew that I had to find a way to heal myself. I knew that I had to get better in some way.
And then, sorry, just so the listeners know who aren't watching, I have my mic paused so I don't interrupt Svetlana. So you hear this, and it's almost like I guess inside it's almost like frustrating and anger, but you know, he's right, and this is helpful. Is that how you felt?
Exactly, that's how I felt. I felt, who are you to tell me this, right? You don't understand any of it. I want to do whatever I need to do. Yes, it's all kind of anger and pissiness, but then my soul knew that it was truth.
Yeah, and it reminds me of, you know, you've heard this different ways, but a friend tells you what you want to hear. A true friend tells you what you need to hear. So it sounds like that was a true friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So now the gauntlet's thrown down. You're challenged. You're grieving. You have a little baby boy who's beautiful, but you're on your own. Where do you go from there?
One of the biggest blessings that I received at that time was that my mom was able to come. My mom was able to come to States and be there for me and with me. And I also, because I had no family, I didn't have any family, it was just me and him. I had amazing friends, a lot of great friends that showed up for me. But having her there was such a huge relief, because I was able to visit church, you know, 2-3 times a week. I was able to go to Buddhist temple every morning to meditate and connect with the monks and ask them questions. I was able to look in the Jewish religion and talk to rabbis.
You were really searching. You're like, I just want to find truth. I'm trying to figure this out. What is going on here?
Exactly, exactly. Because it's the first time in my life where hell and heaven didn't make sense. It just didn't make sense. Because if it was that simple, everything that I was seeing and experiencing wouldn't be it. And I was in grievement groups, and I was in a grievement counseling. And I remember asking my counselor, what does she think about life after death? And she told me that in her training classes, she would tell me that, or after her training, after she finished to be a counselor for grief, she would tell me that, well, the person is dead, you know, and now they are in heaven, or now they're an angel. And she said, but it's very different based on all the experiences of the years of practice and all the stories that she heard, that there was so much more to it. She wasn't willing to discuss, but she recommended many books to me at that time. Yes, and I started reading some of those books and started searching. But also because my mom was there, when someone gifted me a ticket to go to see Tony Robbins live, I was able to do that. And that's kind of how my self-development world started opening up. And the more I learned, the more I was able to see and experience healing and see a bigger picture of life.
And how far how long was it from when your husband passed away to when you went to see Tony Robbins?
It was a year and a half later. Someone reached out to me and say, hey, I have a ticket and I would like to gift it to you. Can you make it there? I'm like, yes, absolutely. I will be there. He changed my life before. And I was a big fan of his. So
now, when you say change your life before, what part, just so we keep chronological, where did you experience Tony Robbins before and he influenced you?
Right before I met my husband and I went to the interview. Again, someone I asked, it was another miracle. I feel like that's my life story. When I was so lost, it was a year and a half, as we heard, first 2 years of very difficult in States. I gained incredible amount of weight. I went from size 2 to size 16. I didn't love myself. I was punishing myself. I didn't know what I was doing. I was a big mess and I didn't want to continue on that path. And again, on my knees, just asking for a way, for a better way, for a miracle. And someone next day gave me Tony Robbins CDs. So I listened to them and I dropped all that weight in 3 months. I learned so much greatness from those CDs that when I met my husband, I was already a different person. I was actually able to see him with this new wisdom and new intelligence and new appreciation, where before I was just confused little girl trying to find my way.
Yeah, and if you don't mind me asking, during the 80s and 90s, there was a set of CDs going around. It was like a box set from Tony Robbins. Was it the Power Pack, or what were the CDs that you got?
Man, I don't even remember what they were.
The reason I bring that up is because I remember watching like his commercials and I'm like, man, I want to buy that, but I was so poor, I didn't have the money. And I didn't have, this at that point, I didn't figure it out. It's my own fault, right? But I remember thinking, I want that box set. But it was something power something.
Yes, I feel like it's Power of Now, but probably in a personal power. And yes.
Maybe that was it. But anyways, I was just wondering if that was the same set.
I think it's Unleash the Power Within.
Yeah, we'll have to look it up. We'll have to look it up. But it'd be interesting. All right. So, but to get back on track, I don't want to derail your great story. So you go through, you lose your husband, you get a free ticket to the Tony Robbins seminar, and go from there, pick up.
And then it was, just step after step after step. I don't even know. It just, I started this exponential growth. Again, here I have Tony Robbins. Here I have meditation that I've been practicing for so long. Here I have some yoga practice. I am growing more and more and more spiritually. So I got myself into the career of being a financial professional that had to do a lot with the life insurance for obvious reasons. And I was doing it for 2 years. And everything kind of made sense that I need to be in the life insurance. I have this great story to share. I was really passionate about that. Everyone got to have life insurance. I still have my license, so I'm still passionate about it. Like, you got to have life insurance.
Yeah, it's true. I am a big believer. I mean, there's term and whole. And if people don't know the difference, one is you just pay as you go, and the other one you kind of invest ahead. I don't want to get into that argument of what's better, but you should have life insurance. You should have a will. You should have a durable power of attorney. Nobody wants. Yes, nobody wants. If you're listening to me, I don't care if you're in America or another country. If you love your family, get it done this week, because you're making excuses, you're dragging your feet, and you're going to cause chaos for your loved ones if you don't do it.
Yep.
Boom. Sorry. That was the harsh slap in the face because I love you. Now, Svetlana, will be kind again.
No, but it is such a truth. And again, I had to learn it, not necessarily in a hard way. I was blessed that, we had a little bit of life insurance. So I was able to stay with my son for the first 6 months and take time from work and really grieve. And I can't imagine the women that have to go to work right away. And the household that were designed for two now is for one, right? And all the struggles and financial challenges. But anyway, so I was in this financial career and I was doing okay. But I was driving in a car one day, listening to this talk on a YouTube, like I always would every morning. And it dawned on me, like, who are you lying to? Like, Svetlana, who are you lying to? Why are you lying to yourself? During the time that I was a financial professional, I read 2 financial books. During that time, I became a certified life coach and certified relationship coach. I went through everything that Tony Robbins had. I went through everything as a personal development programs. I went into this, deeper spiritual learning as well with one of the ladies who was incredible, and she was my mentor and she was my coach. And I recognized that if I truly deeply loved financial industry, that's what I would be studying. But instead, I was studying something very different. But you know what, David, and I find it in so many people that I work with, I find this exact pattern. And this pattern goes like this. I need to do this and this and this so I can truly do what my soul and my heart wants. So let me make all this money. And when I make all this money, then I can go out and be this and do this, right? Then I can start this business. Then I can start this charity. Then I can start doing my life purpose work. And all of it is just deferring you further from who you truly are and what you're meant to be doing. And actually, that's where you're going to be successful in. And that other stuff is becomes so difficult, but it is that fear that we have inside. Oh, I'm not qualified yet. Or who am I? Or how am I going just to come in and commit to that? So that day, I didn't go into my office. I turned around, I went home, I locked the door, I turned on this beautiful music that I had no idea. I learned later on that it is the most powerful mantra in a specific yoga practice that is that the only one that comes with a warning that the thought that you are thinking will become a reality. So you need to be very high vibrational when you are listening to that mantra and the thoughts that you are thinking. Anyway, I wasn't aware of it at that point, but I didn't care. It's just the music that spoke to my soul. And I pulled out this giant whiteboard and I started writing. And I came up and I made that commitment that I will find the way, that I will be my true and authentic self from that point on. And I will share my light in a spiritual and uplifting way in a world. And after that, I started the Light Freedom, my company, and I started blogging and writing. It was easier for me to express myself, to express my voice. I wasn't very confident on camera yet. I wasn't very confident speaking. I had a lot of concerns and limiting beliefs about my accent and how people would take me or understand me. But I had that commitment, so I started writing. And then they say when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Teachers started coming into my life one after another, and I went into spiritual healing. I went to school where actually I didn't know that spiritual healing would be my path. I had something different in mind, But after I took a healing class, it was almost that, it was that called like champagne bottles popping in my head. It was that like hallelujah moment that everything I've done up until that point, everything, all of my coaching certifications, financial certifications, all of my life journey, everything was just for that one moment, for that one thing, for me being a divine energy healer. And so I knew that I would use all of myself and all of my resources in that field. And I never stopped. I got home and started healing everyone, and I never stopped.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And just so you know, if you're listening, how does this relate directly to you? It's because Svetlana took each opportunity. She wasn't listening to the radio on her way into work. She was listening to development materials. She was studying. She was putting efforts in. She's putting in all these steps, trying different things. And then, like she said, she had that boom champagne moment where everything came together. So if you haven't had that, keep doing the daily steps each day and you're going to get there. And sooner than you think, right, Svetlana?
Exactly. Sooner than you think. As long as you don't have to have it all figured out right away. If we would, what would be the fun of life? When we step into this knowing within our soul that we're meant for something more than this just daily life or daily routine that you might not be very fulfilled or satisfied with, I want you to know that only one step is revealed at a time. God only reveals one step at a time. If you're really, really lucky, maybe two, that's it. You will never see the whole path. You will never see. You will know in your soul that most likely you are here to serve and you are here to express love in some shape or form, whether it is through building websites, whether it is through doing energy healing work, whether it is being a coach, whether it is cleaning homes, right? It is service and love that is deep down within your soul that wants to be expressed and experienced. And you will be given one step at a time, one opportunity at a time, one book, one person, one podcast at a time. And then when you embody it, when you step into it, then the next one opens up, the next one opens up. But you have this big vision or big feeling for your life, or big desire that is within you that I hope my life works out like that. I hope that I impact so many people. Or I hope that I will be this kind, beautiful, loving mother or father, or combination of those. But so many people just want, okay, just show me the path and then I'll do it. It never happens. It doesn't. This is not how life works. This is not how spirit works or operates. Then you will never learn faith. You will never learn trust. You will never learn deep inner faith and inner trust and self-confidence and all the other incredible, beautiful things that you are meant to discover on this path. So if you are right now contemplating, oh, should I take that step? If in your heart and in your soul, you know you should, then do it. Do it. Do not allow your mind to talk you out of it. Right? David, we had the conversation the other day. We usually know right away or within a few days. When we meet someone or when we see something or when we discover something, yeah, this is for me. This is who I want to be. This is what I want to unfold into. And then we spend 5 years talking ourselves into something else. Oh yeah, let me be financial advisor because guess what? It's so sexy and I have a name on my door and I'll make all this money. And then it's so good for my ego. My soul could care less. And then I can actually do what my soul truly wants. Now, do what your soul truly wants, you will be so truly deeply successful, and you will be able to follow through that path.
Yeah, and to give a personal testimony, we're going to have to back up a little bit to have you describe these things. But we mentioned vibrations, and we mentioned, in different words, the law of attraction. People use all different terms for it. Quickly give our listeners a summary of what that is and how important it is. And then I'll give a personal testimony of how God used you and all this knowledge to help me in my life.
So vibration and law of attraction. You know, I can talk about it. Wow.
Yeah, and just give a quick crash
I
course
gotta
summary.
give a quick one. So
You can use a different term. I use the law of attraction because that's how I was first introduced to it.
Mhm.
And some people are like, that's great. Some people hate that term. But, you know, what Svetlana was just talking about, how you don't see all the steps. If you read your Bible, it's biblical. Old Testament, New Testament, everything. God will give the vision and he'll give the next step. But it's very rare, if ever, he lays out for anybody in the Bible, here's all the things you're going to do. Because honestly, if we saw everything we had to do, we wouldn't do it. We'd be crippled with fear. So what Svetlana is saying is spot on. It's biblically sound. Read your Bible. Don't just hold it or put it on a bookshelf. And you're going to see this stuff happening. The law of attraction, again, it's called a bunch of different things. But again, if you take anything way out, yeah, it's crazy. But that's a biblically sound concept too. So Svetlana, explain the law of attraction and what these vibrations are.
well, vibration is quite simple. We all are energy. Every human being, we all are energy, and we are vibrating on a different levels. Some of us are experiencing and living beautiful, abundant, fulfilling, exuberant life, and some of us are having very, very dense life. And unfortunately, it is what you believe life is what your life is. It's not another way around. A lot of people think that, well, my life is hard, that's why I believe it is this and this and that. No, if you believe life is hard, it is hard. If you believe life is a miracle experience, and you experience in miracles. If you believe that life is a gift from God, that you are experiencing a gift from God every day. So vibration is the more awake you are, the more spiritual you are, the more godly you are. You know, if you truly know God for yourself, not the idea of God that someone tells you maybe in church, but if you are able to hear God yourself, communicate with God yourself, you know, hear God in a prayer, you are most likely a very high vibrational being, a light being, a kind person, loving person. And therefore, through that kindness and through that love, you attract a lot of beautiful things in your life. And law of attraction, you know, it says that you attract what you bring out. And I do very deeply believe that you attract not what you want, you attract who you are. So if you are a person of beauty, the person of light, the person of patience, the person of grace, you will attract other people that are graceful and loving and kind. And you are very likely to create this beautiful mastermind with other people and shift and make a lot of beautiful things in the world and create a beautiful impact in the world as well. Right? But if you are a person that is living in a lot of, you know, grief and pain and unforgiveness and judgment of self and guilt and shame, it is also more of that you're experiencing in your life. And it is very important just to recognize, wow, I don't want this any longer. And if you don't want this any longer, then guess what? There is a way for you to elevate into new emotions, elevate into new thoughts, elevate into new being, and into new reality of your life. Because guess what? If you think differently and you feel differently, you experience life very differently.
Yes. And there's verses all over the Bible that support this. It talks about how not just humans, but animals and trees and even rocks, the heavens declare God's glory. You know, Louis Giglio does this great piece. If you haven't heard, I'll put a link in, how he's listening. You know, each thing has a frequency that NASA found. And when you put it all together, it plays a song that we're probably familiar with if you go to a modern Christian church. God gives us these things, and we are energy, and it's hard to explain in seconds. But, you know, if you're a Christian, you know, we don't war with the things of the flesh. It's the spiritual powers, the things we don't see, right? And what Svetlana is talking about is we ourselves can kind of sabotage ourselves or put us in a position based on what we believe. We're stuck there. We're going to realize what we believe. And quickly, you know, there's a lot that went in before Svetlana and I met. There's a lot going on now, and there will be a lot in the future, right? But one of the things Svetlana really helped me with, and I don't know if she even knows this, is, man, I worked hard my whole life. I worked very hard. And I was critically ill twice in my life. Not like sick, like, dude, make out your will and get your affairs in order. You're going to die. And God fixed that, right? But I would always work and work and work and then get sick, and then funds are gone. It's not like I did anything wrong, but just life, it's how it went. And then like I'd work and work and work and work, and then stuff would happen. And I'm like, man, I'm exhausted, right? So when Svetlana and I met, I'm like, I just need to reevaluate life, to go back. What's the Bible say? What is she telling me? Where does it line up? Make sure it lines up, you know? I don't want to go down a beaten path that sounds good and you end up in destruction. So one of the key things that helped me go from just this struggle and this exhaustion to where I am today was she said something that hit me. And I've heard it before, and you might have heard this, but it just stuck. It's like, you don't have to worry about how it's going to happen. You just have to know it will. That's it. Just trust it will. And so every single time when I set my goal, now I'm not thinking about how it's going to happen. I'm just going to live each day, step by step, the best I can do, seize opportunity, and know I'm going to get there. And miracle after miracle, like attraction after attraction, everything fell into place for me, and fast. And now, if you can see, if you're watching this, you know, I've always wanted to live in a beachfront condo. And now I live in a beachfront condo. And before, it's like I kill myself and work huge hours. Well, I was like, you know, I'm going to work hard and I want to help people. So I forgot about the money and just started focusing on what Svetlana talked about earlier, the passion. And now I have not only happy clients, but I have more business that I know what to do with, to be blunt. I'm actually struggling to figure out how to balance everything. Okay. So you can talk to Svetlana privately about that. You can read the Bible. Always start there. Anything I say, anything Svetlana says, anything Tony Robbins says, or any human, it's got to go back and line up with the scripture. But what she's talking about does. And if you take it with balance and approach it with the desire to learn, I mean, I'm telling you firsthand experience, what I thought was unreasonable and not probably going to happen until I retire happened within, was it 3 months since we started talking?
Yep, 3 months.
Yeah, it was pretty fast. And I mean, there was other stuff. I was even playing with it. I was like finding money on the road. I was having people walk up to me I never met before and just give me stuff. It really works. And it's not voodoo. It's not crazy magic. It's just life. It's energy, how God designed it. And it's great. And I remember calculus, as weird as it sounds. If anybody's taking calculus, man, I remember studying calculus. I went through calculus 1, 2, 3, differential equations, which was essentially calculus 4 in college. And every time I took it, I'm like, how does this work? Drove me crazy. Spent hours trying to study calculus. How does it work? How does it work? How does it work? All my friends are like, we don't care. They finished the mechanical engineering program. I dropped out. It's the only thing in my adult life I didn't finish. Kind of drives me nuts, right? But I obsessed so much with how does the calculus work that I never got it done. Where they're like, I don't care how it works. I'm just going to do. That's what Svetlana's talking about. Just do it. It'll work itself out. You don't need to know how. And it's not always based on your job. Your career will not always bring the money. God will. So that's it. I didn't mean to tell, but this is a testimony that God used Svetlana in my life. So I want to make sure you understand that what she's saying, I've seen personally work, and you will too.
And how much fun it is also, David, when you just let go of that how. Then you start living life of miracles. Things just start opening up so magically and abundantly. And you're just like, okay, I'm receiving. And it's, I also know what it is like to struggle. I also know what it is like to achieve. Again, the journey from working little girl when she was 6 and knowing how to achieve and get there, and just dropping all of it and saying, no, I don't want this way any longer. And allowing for beauty, for magic, for goodness, for God to really show up every single day and open up the doors and the windows and meet people and give great opportunities and great clients and, so much success in so many different ways. And really all of that alignment, we cannot push our way through it, right? Like you cannot how yourself through it. Because it doesn't make sense. It's just so much more. It always so much more. God's plan is so much bigger than your own in your head.
Yeah. And we're always trying to understand, well, how's it going to work? How's it going to figure it out? Oh, that can't happen. That can't happen. And it's just junk. Just let all that go. Just trust God and move on.
Yes.
And speaking of moving on, I derailed us a little bit, I think in a good way. Let's take it. So you're growing, you're doing personal development. You saw the Tony Robbins, you're getting better. You find your passion. You're having these champagne moments. Where do you go from there to now? And you have a nice husband and a baby. So that added, so bring us through this journey to today.
So also throughout 11 years of my life, I worked in a casino. I always had the casino job. It was secure, benefits. I could take time off whenever I needed to. They were very flexible. They were absolutely amazing and great. But I felt like I was selling my soul there. I was a cocktail server. So I was giving a drink, getting money, and it just felt so out of alignment with who I was. And again, it was okay for me for a little while, but I also knew that I was transitioning. And while I was transitioning, it was okay. The voice came one day, super loud, and said, you transitioned. Like, God, please, no, can I please be transitioning just a little bit longer? Yeah, sounds familiar. Can you just be doing this a little bit longer? Because I'm so scared. No, you transition, it's time. And so I went through the inner child healing experience myself. It was kind of this like final little element of the practice that I do now. I very deeply love it. And I felt very free. I remember I emailed my manager at the time, thank for everything they've done for me. They've been nothing but incredible throughout those years. Asked for 2 more months off, just in case, so that, if I need to, I can return, which I wasn't really planning on. And yes, and I left, I quit, and I fully went into the spiritual healing practice. Ooh, that was a jump. Also, after I did that, I got on my knees and I said, I am done. God, I'm done. I'm done waiting to be happy. I don't want to be happy in 5 years. I don't want to be happy in a month, in a year. I don't want to be happy tomorrow. I want to be happy now. I'm done struggling. I want to be happy now. Show me the way. I'm done. In that conviction, I got across some incredible teachings from beautiful teachers on dreams and how to make your dreams a reality, how to manifest your dreams. I started studying it. I worked through it. I do teach now a dreams course, which is beautiful, divine, a lot of work. So I did all of that work, released my dreams, and things started shifting. Anyway, one of those dreams was meeting a man, my dream man. I didn't want to just anyone. I want a man of honor and integrity, goodness and light. I went all the way out and I just poured my heart and soul to God. And I said everything that I wanted. I did. I didn't hold back. And it did seem at that time that I was a little maybe delusional, like such a special unicorn doesn't exist in the world. But I didn't care. If he doesn't exist, then I don't want anything else. I just want him. I want this special unicorn in my life. I asked for a family. I asked for a home. I asked for a career, for my business to do really well. I asked for certain income. I asked for all those things. I leave all of these things now. Anyway, 6 months later, he came into my life. Right? The moment I got very clear that this is who I am, and I asked for it from the purity of my heart, from this devotional deep place, everything started it totally became a different life that I once was experiencing. And it was a lot of faith that had to take place. And it was difficult in the beginning because guess what? Things were ending and things were shifting. And I was like, will I be okay? Will I be financially okay? Can I really support my family and my child? Because I remember I was a sole provider for a very long time. I have my mom and my son and mortgage to pay and bills to pay and to make sure. So leaving the job was scary. And I didn't tell you before that my insurance office closed down. So the other insurance office that was taking me, they only wanted me full time. And I didn't want to do it full time because I already knew that I wanted to do something else. So the door started closing, right? So that I can truly be who I need to be. And it started closing. But being in that quiet time, the devotional time, right, David, you talk about read your Bible, have the devotional time, listen to the God, listen to the Bible, whatever your practice is, make sure that you really stay with that practice so that it can fill you up, especially in a time of transition, in a time of, am I going to be okay? This is so scary, so that you can truly fill yourself up and trust God more than your personality. Trust God more than you trust yourself. And you can take the steps even when you feel paralyzed. And so, 6 months later, my miracle unicorn came into my life. Actually, amazing story is I met him first time on my very first Tony Robbins event. That was 8 years before. That's how we met.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yep, we did. But during that time, it was my first big event like that. And I was still grieving quite deeply. It was only a year and a half since Reggie died. And he had a lot of things that he had to work through also. So we didn't meet romantically. We met as friends. I always thought that he was a cool guy. We stayed friends on social media. We would catch up maybe once every 2 years. Talk about trading. I would message him, should I buy Bitcoin, right? Or should I do this? Because I knew he was in it, he was doing it. Anyway.
Yeah, and if you're listening, you can go back and listen to Jeremy's episode. He's an expert trader, like massive scale, fantastic guy. Yeah, and he can communicate to the average person. That's what's extra special about Jeremy from a business outsider point. Like he's not one of those guys that so smart you want to smack him in the head because he annoys the crap out of you. He's really fun, great human, easy to communicate with, and he'll explain things at your level. So keep going. I just want them to know how great Jeremy is.
He truly is the most incredible human being I've ever met in the world. And he truly cares, and he loves people immensely, and he wants to enrich lives of people. And he produces millionaires. Like that is what cool. He's like, oh yeah, this year there are so many people who became millionaires because his impact in the world, his life, his desire, he's sharing. He shares so much freely. Like his classes are free. He's like the most generous, beautiful, open heart I've ever experienced. So anyway, we had
can I tell them about, like, we never mentioned this in his episode, but like where he just came back from, is that public knowledge? Can I share that?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, if you guys to the level we're talking about, Svetlana and Jeremy have their own island in the British Virgin Isles, and it's 3 miles away from Richard Branson's island. So it's not like a little place. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's a resort. They put on anti-sex trafficking seminars. They put on financial seminars. They put on light healing seminars. They got a lot going on. So they're using everything God's given them for good, not just selfish interest. But we're not talking about somebody who drives a Lexus and says, hey, do this. He's the real deal at a large scale.
We are very, very blessed. We are very blessed. Again, just going to make a little, we do all of those things, absolutely. We are investors in the island. The island is owned by Brittany Turner, who is our dear friend, and she's absolutely incredible. And, you know, Jeremy is involved very, very deeply in it, and he owns tiny part of it, but we are on an island every month teaching and guiding, and there is so much light and so much goodness that is coming from it. And those who are watching, again, if you ever called for a deep, soulful, transformational experience, please come experience one of our summits. So we have Dream Summit and Abundance Summit and Love Summit. If you really want to elevate in the most magnificent place in the universe, you know, heaven on earth, and please come join. We'll be so happy to host you and to love on you and to work with you. Yes, but I don't even know where were we?
We were talking about how you met Jeremy. So you said 8 years ago, you meet this guy, you become friends, you check in with him every once in a while, and now bring us to the moment where you met him again and started reconnecting.
So yes, he reached out to me and said, hey, I will be in Vegas. I would love all of my team to come for healing. I'm like, would love that, would love to facilitate a healing experience for all of you. He's like, and I want to come for like a one-on-one session as well. I'm like, awesome, great. Well, when you're ready, just let me know. So I'm sitting on my calendar. He booked one-on-one session. Awesome. He is, you know, I know that he's coming into town. So here we are. First day of COVID, everything shuts down. So my practice, my healing space shut down. Hotels, first time ever. Casinos, like no one could ever see any, like there is no way casinos would shut down, right? Casinos shut down, hotels shut down, everything. So he calls me and says, hey, listen, my hotel is closed and I can't get Airbnb. Can I stay on your couch for a few days?
Sneaky guy. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So he wasn't really sneaky because he thought that I was married. I knew he was engaged. So there I was, like, I hope the dude isn't a weirdo, right? Like I know him, he's cool, like on the internet, but when you like invite someone to your house, you don't really know. I have a son and a mom. And then I'm like, well, everything is shut down. Maybe it's time for me to get back into trading. Like, who is better than Jeremy Newsome to ask all the questions about trading? Okay, come and stay on my couch for a few days, right? There is nothing else going on right now in the world anyway. So he came and stayed in my place, I think, for a good 4 days. And the day 2, I learned that he wasn't engaged any longer. And he learned that I wasn't married. And I did healing on him. It was out-of-worldly experience for me during that healing. I know that it was life-changing for him and he can share his story. But during that time, his higher self came through and said, I'm not here for the healing, I'm here for you. And I was like, weird, because I wasn't looking at him like that. And then God so loudly and clear said, he is the one. If you want it, he is the man that you asked for in your dream. He is it. So, of course, I didn't tell anything to him. I'm like, let me observe, let me watch, right? Because my heart is quite guarded and I have a my standards are big. So I wanted to make sure. And he was just this beautiful, light, wonderful being. My son, Gabriel, just like fell in love with him. We had this amazing time. He went back to Nashville and we just talked every day for a good 6 weeks. And I remember that halfway through, he sent me this beautiful video and he's like, I know it goes against everything, but I know that I love you. And I was like, oh my God, like I knew that I loved him so much. It was this connection of souls that knew each other lifetimes. It was just so beautiful, but it was also on a physical level so scary. Of course, I had to work through a lot of personal fears, right? Like, are you sure you're not going to die anytime soon? Those kind of fears. A lot of things kind of started triggering back. So I had to sit with myself and trust divine, trust God, that God wants absolutely the most, the highest and the best for me. And so here we are, just a little bit over a year and a half later in Nashville, married, where we have a 3-month-old, living this incredibly beautiful life, serving from our highest and most selves, helping so many people around the world. And life is truly a miracle. I'm telling you, all of those dreams that I set out there, I'm living them now. I am.
Amen. Now, let me ask you a question. From the time you were born to where you are today, did we miss anything significant that you want to cover? Or are you ready to go from where you are today to where you're going? So now we can help you get there. And then you can share your special offer for our listeners.
Oh my goodness, did I miss something? Of course I did. I'm sure I did. But if it's not here, then it's not meant to be here. You know, all the listeners, what they needed from this episode, they received it.
And if you call Svetlana and do coaching, make sure you get to hear the poker chip story. She's not going to share it today. I won't let her.
Okay. Do you want me to share? I'll share.
Nope. They have to call you to hear it because that's a great story. And that's something that'll help change your life because that shows you that God can be delivering. You may not be receiving. So save that for your personal call with him. So go on. But where are you today, Svetlana, and where are you heading so we can help you get there?
So I took this time off with my precious newborn. I took good 4 months not working. And it has been a beautiful transformational time because I had to sit in the quiet and really there's this newborn energy that is coming through for me. I always had this big vision for my life, and anyone who is willing to help, please, is I want to have healing temples around the world. the temples of light, the temples of healing, where anyone can come and receive healing, a place of miracles, a place where disease is elevated, whether it is mental, emotional, or physical. And recognize that for me to bring that through would be to share what I know and train other people in that as well. So next year, I am starting Divine Light Healers Academy. And I will be taking mostly women, some men, mostly women, the light souls. They know in their heart and their soul that they are meant to share their love through service of healing and helping. And I will teach them all these modalities that took me many years, over 10 years around the world to learn. I have my master's degree in metaphysical and spiritual studies, and I get in my doctorate degree in that. So I've been on this path for a very long time because I really wanted to make sure, David, that if someone comes into my life, I have tools to help them. I never wanted to be in a place that if there is a person who is struggling, that is sick, that I don't have any tools and I don't know how to help them. And of course, it goes a lot beyond me. A lot of it is just God's work that is done through me. But
yeah, and we all have different gifts and abilities. But before you go on, people who aren't familiar with what you do, sometimes are scared. Sometimes they think, oh, no way, I don't want to be part of that. That's crazy. But there's a lot of good in it and a lot of truth in it. But just define two terms, because as soon as you say energy healing, people think physical. But it's a lot more than the physical. It could be spiritual, it could be mental, it could be emotional. So talk a little bit about what you do in regards to healing.
So David, the physical is almost never physical, right? It doesn't start physical unless it is a car accident or there is something that happens to your physical body first. And then it goes into emotional and mental body. But most of the times it is the thoughts that we are thinking, they are pushing on the emotions that we're feeling. And if we're feeling the same emotions and we're having the same thoughts for a long period of time, they are start pushing on our physical body. And in time, they will be shown as a disease in a physical body. So on a spiritual level, as an energy healer, many times we'll see the miracles when we're able to see that pattern, right? Or feel that pattern. Again, every healer is different. Some see, some sense, some feel, some know. It's all different for all of us. But when we're able to take that energy, the dense energy, and take it out of this energy body that we all have, right? Our physical body is just a little tiny part of who we truly are, right? We all know about electromagnetic field or our auric field. That is where a lot of our bodies, other bodies lay in. And I don't want to get too technical or too detailed, but many times miracles happen when that thought or the emotion is being released. And then it goes from the physical body and the disease isn't there anymore. And that's how we see this beautiful, transformational, miraculous healing from the disease, right? It happens when a person, right, attunes themselves to God. And they believe in the light of God more than they believe in the disease. And that the transmutation, right, that again, vibration shifts. Because our innate state is wholeness. Our innate state is light. Everything else is thoughts and emotions and density that we pick up by just being here on earth. Life experiences, beliefs. And so yes, healing comes in different ways. It is spiritual, it is mental, it is emotional, it is physical. And it is all encompassing, all encompassing. So yes, I do coaching work, life relationship, purpose coaching, where we work a lot on a mental and emotional healing. And through my courses, through the Dreams course, there is so much release, emotional release that happens, that all baggage that leaves a person, that now they attune into the new reality, a new possibility, a new light. So miracles happen, healings happen, right? Through the, even going through the Dreams course, there are people who healed from some severe diseases. So yes, being a healer for me is I heal in different ways. And it truly, every person is unique and different. Some people need more spiritual connection. And when they get the spiritual connection, they attune to it and they heal. Some people are very spiritual, but then they have dense beliefs from the past that is just holding them back, right? And just letting go of those beliefs and bringing in new hope, new beliefs, new ideas, new vision for life. I tune them into that healing.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing. If you're listening, some of you are like, I want in. You know, you want to talk to Svetlana about coaching. Some of you are like, no, I want to get into her training program and be certified as an energy healer. Talk to her about that. But if this is all new to you, and Svetlana, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is how I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm perfectly healthy and well, you know, I've heard it said before, it's very true. The English language is a complex language, but if you study the roots, it comes from other languages, usually Greek. And dis-ease, if you're at ease, everything's relaxed and flowing. But when you're dis means not, dis-ease, you're not at ease, you start getting sick. So I always think of it like this, whether it's spiritual or mental, it'll turn into physical. Because if I put a pebble in your shoe and you start walking, it's no big deal. And it might be a little annoying, but then you keep walking, it's going to get raw. And then you're going to start compensating. So you start leaning to the left because it's in your right shoe. And then your knee gets a little tweaked and your hip gets a little tweaked and your back tweaks and your neck tweaks. And it can cause real problems the longer you go on. What Svetlana is doing is helping you unwind these knots and take the pebbles out of your shoe so you can heal, so you can have ease and all those symptoms go away. Is that a fair way to describe it?
It's such a beautiful way to describe it. Such a beautiful way. Yes.
And then for you today, how can we help you? How can listeners get a hold of you? Where can they go to reach you? Give them all the lowdown.
Well, David, my purpose in life is to help people to free their light so they can shine bright and impact many. So the more people I can touch and heal, the more people they will go out and touch and heal. I believe healed people heal people, hurt people hurt people. So the more healed people we have in the world, right? When you do your work, when you work on yourself, you make a world a better place. And so for me is please connect if you are cold, you know, in your heart and in your soul, like this message resonates with you, resonates within you, that you want to be a healer in some way or in some kind of capacity. Because what I would like is to help people to really get confident in their gifts. We all have gifts, we all do. Get really confident so they can free their light, right? Free themselves from the past, from someone who told them they cannot be this and that, from exes and, you know, childhood pain, whatever that is, so they can be free and they can shine bright into the world and be leaders, impactful, beautiful leaders in their communities, for women, for men, for children, whatever that is in your heart and in your soul. We all have, for animals, whatever that mission, that purpose is for you. And also, if you know in your heart that you just want to be spit out in the new energetic vibration in your life, come through the Dreams course. We're starting on January 3rd. You could hear, the miracle that David had 3 months later, now in this stunning, beautiful apartment overlooking the ocean. And you heard my miracles. There are so many stories from so many people. If you're ready for your life to be changed for the better, that is a place. That is a place to start. It will change. It will absolutely change. It will realign and become a very different reality.
Yeah, and
better one.
Yeah, and just so if you're listening, don't get confused by the dates. Svetlana and I are recording this on December 6th, 2021. But these are evergreen episodes. So you may be listening to this in 2023. Wherever you are, however you're listening, whenever you're listening, Svetlana not only has online classes, not only she has the live Zoom classes, but she also has live in-person seminars. So where can they find your website, Svetlana, and what's the best way to email you or contact you? That way, no matter what time of the year, even the decade they listen to this, they can reach you.
Yeah, so again, my company is The Light Freedom. So the website is thelightfreedom.com. You can also message me on Instagram at The Light Freedom, or email me Svetlana@thelightfreedom.com. So reach out, please. I will be happy to speak with you. I'll be happy to guide you, help you, and yes, love on you and help you in any way I can.
Excellent, excellent. And I'll put all this in the show notes. So don't stress. If you're driving, don't try to write it down and get in a car accident. We'll get in the show notes. You can listen to it again. But Svetlana, thank you so much for being here. Is there anything we've missed or any final thought you want to leave with our community before you go?
Just remember that you are loved.
Amen to that. And with that, I just think that's beautiful, simple and beautiful. God is love. He loves you. Remember, you are loved. So thank you, Svetlana. To our audience, to you, if you have any questions, reach out to Svetlana. If I can help you in any way, I will. If you haven't listened to her husband's episode, go back, listen to the Jeremy Newsome story, but make sure you continue to move forward. Contact Svetlana, check out her website, see what she's doing. And more than anything, dig into your Bible, start reading, praying, but act. Don't just take it in, do it. So I'm David Pasqualone. This is Svetlana Newsome. Thank you again for being here, Svetlana. And we'll see you and you'll hear us in the next episode. Ciao.
Thank you.
The Remarkable People Podcast. Check it out. The Remarkable People Podcast. Listen, do, repeat. For life.